Got it.
So, where are you located?
I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, right, Pittsburgh. Powerful area, Pittsburgh.
Yeah. There's a lot of density here.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the Northeast is. I was in home remodeling for about 30 years at a corporate level. 55% of our business, these would be the biggest companies like Home Depot, Sears, uh, but 55% of the business and 55% of the households, and therefore the density, was in the Northeast. And
Hmm.
but yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time up there, and there's a lot of everything. There's a lot of diverse energy. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Someone once said to me that you can tell a lot about a city by looking back into its history
Yeah.
and what it's based on. And Pittsburgh, steel. So, it's a little bit heavy.
I know it's a very interesting area. So, we'll just give it a little bit longer. Right when I looked, it was 1 minute and 11 seconds. So that ought to mean something. This
Okay.
during this time now, this spaceless time and timeless space that we find ourselves in this transition that we call ascension, the universal energy is quite profound. Uh, but we'll get into that. We'll get into
Yeah.
that. Let me.
You say it's not live yet?
Oh no, we're live. I'm going to go to my page
Okay.
and I'm going to tag you. How about that?
Awesome.
Let me do that
Yes.
while we're waiting. Okay, let's see. Is it on? Yeah, there it is. Hang on. Let's see. Edit, Heather, and there you are. Boom. There we go. Let's see. I'm going to send you a friend request. Uh, okay, Heather Oblak. Did I pronounce that right?
Oblak.
Oblak. I can
Oblak.
never get anyone's names right. I should be able to get the American names right, if nothing else.
Well,
Uh,
mine's unusual.
yeah, I'm just reading off of your bio. Tantrika, Yogacara, Shamanic Healer, Yoga Evolved Sacred Soul Alchemy,
Mhm.
volunteer at Isha Foundation, anthropologist. Was that right? Anthropologist
Yeah.
and ethnographic researcher at Gaia. Anthropologist. I love Robert Sepper. He's like my hero. He's my number one. I guess if I had one person I could interview or have on the show, we don't really interview. It's a conversation, as you know. You can
Right.
ask questions, but I'd love to have him on. I believe he'll come on at some. He's told Morgan he'll come on at some point, but I love his work. So yeah,
Nice.
that's
I haven't read his work. What is he?
oh, he's
What's he focused
well,
on?
he's got two YouTube channels. One's called Robert Sepper, REP. I'm sorry, uh, Robert Sepeher, and then he has Atlantean Gardens.
Mm.
I got four of his books back here. Gods with Amnesia, Vril is another one. But yeah, he does some amazing work. He does just amazing work. He's probably got, I don't even know. I've been watching him for years, three or 400. Um, Independent out of California, just a really profound guy. He goes by the link of, or the moniker of the most dangerous anthropologist in the world. So
They all think that.
he's pretty good. He really is.
Check
He's
them out.
a lot of people in the Soldier community follow him.
Very
Yeah, so this is really the first time we've engaged, and in
yeah.
typical Soulogy style. I know we were supposed to get together in early January, but that particular day I had a one of those days where you're just going to be on your back and horizontal when the university says no, you're not doing nothing today.
Oh,
Just
that's interesting because I had the same kind of day. My partner and I both, and we were just like, nope, we can't do this today.
yeah, okay, that's good to hear. I think the energy's just been crazy as time has progressed. Even though we know there's no time, and that's kind of diminishing as the days go on. But it's good to hear because, there are days like that. And especially since the 22nd of February, which I'd love to, we love to talk about what's going on, real-time intel through the experience, because that's really where we get our education and our wisdom and our knowledge. But I have to ask you our favorite question, which is, did you have a wake-up experience, or have you always been this weird?
Oh, yeah, that's a loaded question. And let me answer that. Can I ask you first if you would mind if we take a moment to become a little present and open
Absolutely.
sacred space?
Absolutely.
All right, awesome. Because, yeah, today has been one of those interesting days. The energy's just been shifting. So I invite anyone joining us to connect with your breath and become present in this time and space, in this moment, in this body, in this energy field. And bringing your hands together in front of your heart, rubbing your hands together, generating some heat, opening those energy centers in the hands, those channels. Taking a nice deep breath here with the hands in front of the heart. And on the next inhalation, reaching the hands up into the 8th chakra, up above your head, fingertips into this radiant orb of light, and opening the palms, spreading this light out around you. Noticing the shift in energy in your space around you. Bringing the hands back together in front of the heart. And one more time, inhaling up into the 8th chakra, the soul chakra. And spreading this light, this iridescent, luminous, energized light around our entire community. This is space of infinity, timelessness, boundlessness, eternity, infinite self space. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah. So was I born this way, or was I always this? Yeah. It was all of it, right?
Exactly. That seems to be the common answer.
I've always, just not quite fit in and found it difficult to really relate to the human environment around me and how they were doing things. And, I've been thinking about this recently. Like, I had a really wonderful, beautiful, like, heart opening, awakening in 2017. So that was 5 years ago. But I believe that the first time was when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
Can't pinpoint it. It was just one of those things where I just seemed to kind of go a little bit crazy. It didn't stop for about 30 years.
I think mine was the other way around. It lasted about 30 years.
Well, yeah. There was definitely a dark night period that was, from about, maybe 20 or 30 years. And it was just up and down and all over the place. Lots of working out trauma, not understanding it. A lot of all the usual, addiction, risky behavior, switching around jobs to jobs, going all over the place, trying to figure out what's what. But I did find yoga. And as soon as I found yoga, a year and a half later, I was in a car accident.
Wow.
And it knocked me out. And I was laying on the floor for a month. I couldn't move. I was in so much pain.
Wow.
And so that really started the healing part of my journey to find relief from that.
How old were you? How old were you when that happened?
That was 27.
Okay.
So And then I started exploring. I'd never had a massage before. I'd never like gone to a chiropractor, and all of a sudden I was doing all of those things and ended up becoming a healer in that process of finding healing for myself, because I would get little glimpses and it wasn't quite right. It wasn't quite what I needed yet. So I had to, or felt like I needed to learn everything there was about it. So I became a massage therapist, a yoga teacher, found all of these great, wonderful tools. And now I've found shamanism.
We can dive into this stuff. We can unpack some of
Yeah.
this stuff. When did you make the, when did you come into the awareness with massages, yoga, etc., the connection to we're energy, and healing or alignment can be approached from that as opposed to just a strictly physical experience?
It was during my first yoga class ever. It was an 8-week or 6-week course. And at some point, like a few weeks in, during Shavasana, so at the end of most classes, you'll go into Shavasana where you're lying on the floor comfortably. And the teacher took us through this guided meditation, and I suddenly felt this swirling vortex of energy in the room, and I felt connected to everyone. I was like, what is this?
Wow.
And my interest was piqued ever since then, like trying to like find out what that is and how do you get there. And it was just, yeah, amazing. So it's been a journey since then. And then, I mean, and finding out how it was healing was for my own use. Like I had chronic back pain, and so I was using it in a therapeutic way and got a lot more than I bargained for. I thought it would just be stretching out muscles and, you know, dealing with the pain, but actually a combination of yoga and Ayurveda ended up helping me to heal like everything internally. Like the back pain, I went to India multiple times receiving panchakarma, which is a detoxification and purification from the inside out.
What's that called?
Panchakarma.
Panchakarma.
Yeah, it's their main form of treatment. It's panchakarma, 5. Pancha means 5, and then karma is action.
Okay.
So it's based on 5 cleansing actions. So you're cleaning out the entire body. And while you're cleaning out the body, all of your other layers are being detoxed as well. So mentally, emotionally, energetically. And I found that was really essential to do in combination because with the yogic practices, because you're taking into consideration diets and lifestyle and really learning how to rest and be alone with your thoughts. The first place I went to, I mean, they don't have TVs, like the really authentic ones. There's no TV. You're not allowed to read. You're not supposed to be on your phone. You're supposed to just be present. And so I watched dragonflies for like 8-10 hours a day.
Dragons. Operative word, dragon.
Right. There were millions of them. But yeah, it was an opportunity to create space and to slow down.
And you're in your late 20s and into your 30s when you're doing this?
This was in my 30s
Okay.
that I discovered that. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I lost the thought.
It's okay. That's what happens in this 5D consciousness. There is no past. You know, I know the universe, or us as the universe, communicates in unique ways to each one of us. So there's no right or wrong. But I'm just curious for somebody with what, you know, you've told us so far, and then having, you know, gone to India. Did you have, I mean, I know you had the swirling thing go on. Did you have like certain essences, angelic, galactic, elemental, or anything kind of escort you at any time, or have you been dealing with more of a singular voice?
That's an interesting question. I've only become aware of voices really in the past 5 years. That's when a lot of psychic abilities opened up for me. So looking back, I sometimes have to like reassess, what was going on back then and how I was receiving information. Um, I did when I was younger, so maybe the age of 20 or 21, like a really important experience. And it was the only one for a very long time. It was so clear. I was tripping
Mm-hmm.
and having not such a great trip. And I was talking to myself in the mirror, all the things you're not supposed to do when you're by yourself. And I got really upset. I was crumpled on the floor, sobbing. And then I sat up and looked in the mirror again. And I was just falling apart. Like I didn't know what was happening. Everything was just falling down around me. And I felt like I saw someone else in the mirror, a woman figure superimposed over me. And I asked her, "Can you save me?" And she said, "Can you save yourself?" And I was just stone cold sober in that
Isn't
moment.
the universe always answers with a question?
It does at times, yeah. I mean, that was powerful because
Yeah,
that it made me realize that I am the one who
yeah,
has to do the work,
yeah.
that I have to find the answers, that it's all within me. But yeah, in India, my guru, I go to Isha Yoga Center with Sadhguru, and there's a very powerful temple there, Dhyana Linga Temple, which is I want to say 12-foot high lingam inside a womb like
Wow.
temple. And the entire purpose of this temple is for meditation. And so you go in, it's very quiet, and everyone just sits and meditates. And sometimes they'll have different offerings. They have sound offerings a couple of times a day. And during new moons and full moons, there are special things. But it's mostly a space where this energy form has been energized with all 7 chakras, and they're all alive. So it's really a living embodiment of Shiva. And I did have experiences there of total oneness, like
Right.
going into samadhi or whatever you want to call it. And it wasn't so much voices, that were clear as just like being able to see things, like
Yeah.
starting to see things, seeing the divine in every single person I passed by, and really feeling the energy.
Yeah. And I didn't mean like literally voices, although I know sometimes
Some
that
do.
happens, but I just meant more in terms of like the faces of the universe, the different consciousnesses that seem to be more prevalent than most,
Mhm.
Yogananda, Yeshua, Magdalene, Kuan Yin, that type of thing. And everybody, again, is different. I've spent a lot of time, obviously, over the last few years talking to people, and it's interesting how they all have their own unique path. One of the things that I've noticed in the course of people's journeys as I've discussed, their lives, is that many times there are prominent, prominent consciousnesses or energies within their journey, but as time goes on, they tend to be embodied, and it
Mhm.
becomes a very singular communication with fewer of the faces of the universe showing up. It's more of a inner dialogue between, I call it the little Todd and the big Todd, or you could say the oversoul and the human aspect. You said that you had something happen in, what was it, 2016, 2017?
2017, yeah. It was on Mahashivratri, which is a big day for Hinduism and in yoga. So it's the great night actually of Shiva. You stay up all night and chanting. It's a time when the planets, the cosmology, like the whole cosmic universe is aligned in a way that makes you more receptive. So you're more open to the spiritual energies. So by keeping the spine erect all night, you connect with those energies and can receive more. So I usually, since India is like almost 12 hours difference from here, I usually will watch the live stream during the day here. And I was doing that on that day, and I went to this lake that's near my house, and I was meditating. There was some sort of meditation that someone had posted that I was listening to also. And I did some yoga, and I was just sitting and watching the sunlight dancing on the surface of the water. And it was all sparkly and glittery. And then all of a sudden, I completely lost myself. My heart burst open, and I felt one with everything. And this state lasted for months. I was just walking around every day. Like, I completely changed. I was staying with my parents at the time. And even like when I saw them, I didn't really know how to react to them anymore, because I had forgotten. Like, it was like I dropped all of my karma, and I knew the stories. I knew that we had past interactions, but when they said something, I was like, I feel like there should be an automatic response to this, because I've heard this before, but I really don't know. So I was really forced to become very present in every moment, to seek out like what exactly the energy is that's happening here, instead of relying on those automated responses that had been conditioned to over a lifetime. So it was really, really beautiful, and felt wonderful to connect with people in that way. I was literally glowing. People would tell me, "You're just glowing. What happened to you?" And then it started to drop away, and I was trying to figure out like what happened when it started to come down. And as it happened, so several months after that, that was in February, and in September, I went to see my guru and actually saw him, and we caught each other's eye, and he looked at me and nodded, and something happened in that transaction that how I understand it now, is brought me back down to earth.
Wow.
Because my understanding now is that, if you're vibrating really, really high, like you can't really maintain this body.
Right.
So there has to be something to connect you if you want to stay in this body.
Right. And because at the end of the day, regardless of what experiences we have, there's a reason that the human aspect's on point.
Right.
The information is, be it downloads, transmissions, channels, whatever, is meant to, this is really a question, but, is meant to open up code in us, expand our awareness for the purpose of being, a fully embodied and present human being. Something like that. Is that what you're...
Yeah, exactly. Well, because in yoga, there's a process called Mahasamadhi, right? Where the person actually consciously, a yogi will consciously leave their body, because they've reached that state. They're like, this is bliss. I'm done. I'm going. So when you are in, with a guru and being watched by a guru, they will offer certain things and certain processes to keep you here so you don't accidentally slip away. And part of that is wearing like metal jewelry to keep you in your body. But yeah, like he knew my work wasn't done here, and that I had achieved something, but not with all of the guidance to really know what was happening. Like, so I met with him at the right time. It's like, okay, you've experienced this bliss, now you know, and now you can come back down and stay here and do your work. And the work is to share all this knowledge that I've collected and all these practices and so much that I've accumulated that have helped me in my healing journey that I know will help so many others in their awakening process.
Yeah. Has it been, because I know for some of the people I talk to, and maybe all of us really, we have in our own right, have our own periods or moments of what we might call out of body, or not being present would be maybe another way to put it, I guess. But when you reach that point that you're talking about, some people talk about the struggle, that it's somewhat of a struggle, nothing that they can't overcome, but it's just a lot more fun to be out of the body sometimes because of all the, you know, I won't say a bad word, but you know, all the illusionary fuckery that goes on. But of course, knowing that from the higher perspective, the perfection of it all, have you had any struggles since that point when he brought you back in, where you just kind of want to, go back out there into the ethers and hang out more than being here?
I don't know if I'd call it struggles, but it was definitely like, oh, where'd it go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanting it back. And then, I'm grateful that I have the kind of training that I do, and I have teachers in my ear, like, maybe not now, but just like past things of like, don't seek experiences, and just, so I remember, okay, that's an experience. There's a reason for this. There's a reason for this. And I had to keep remembering that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't painful. Like I know I've talked to people too who find it very challenging, because there's maybe a lot of pain in this life. And I was at a point where I had done so much healing work that when I had that experience, that it just all fell away.
Yeah.
Easily as like one thing. In shamanism, we call it, shedding your karma, like a snake sheds its skin. It just all falls away. So there wasn't any strong attachment to anything, but it was challenging trying to navigate, like find my way back, like, well, what now?
Right. Yeah. The what now?
Yeah.
There's a couple of things there. So one of them, being that one thing that seems to be constant for all of us, because I don't see anybody walking on water, is that regardless of our perception, or even, because what the truth is within ourselves, obviously, and what we know really is impervious to anything outside of us. But there's still seems to be one of the constants that we share is that as long as we're walking on the earth, there's always an infinite well of things that can be presented to us to take us even deeper, right? I mean, it's a very, humbling kind of a pattern, I guess. I don't know if you've ever, you get this rush, you get this elevation, you get this higher level of alignment. It's quite, powerful and can be a bit seductive to the ego. And then you wake up the next day and the universe is like, hey, you just stepped into a new world and a new level or a new dimension within the realm, kind of thing. Can you relate to any of that?
I can, and I'm seeing this from two different perspectives, because, in the position I'm in with Tantra and yoga, I've had a lot of people come to me who experience what they'll call Kundalini awakening or Kundalini experiences, Kundalini syndrome, right? Where it's a temporary thing.
Right.
So it's like on the one hand, there's the temporary experience. And then on the other hand, there's the one that comes and stays. And so I'm going back and forth as to like which, like for me, I believe that as far as the positive ones, I keep coming back to the thought, what I've been taught and what makes sense to me now is that don't seek experiences, because, you know, we're taught that these powers, these cities, you know, the excitement of like, oh, I can like see things and hear things, and, you know, I can hear these tones if I do this, and I can, you know, sit in and meditate and do dream work and all of this. And there's a place for it, and then there's also a fine line between finding that place for it and being distracted by it and being pulled off your path by it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's where I see a lot of people struggling with it and faltering. And I mean, it's great, it's a wonderful experience, but then there's always like deeper level of work
Yeah.
that needs to be addressed too.
Yeah. Good description. Because I mean, you know, like what you're saying is so, you know, obviously we're aware of the dark, what we might call from a human perspective, the dark, you know, darkness, and obviously it's all one and the same. But that kind of is part of our wake up, right? Dark nights of the soul. And then you start to get the rush, you know, you start to develop that connection. And it, I guess, like, I like the way you describe it, because, you know, the light, so to speak, offers the same catalytic quality that the dark did for us. In other words, it can teach us some things about ourselves. And that is, you know, I guess another way to put it is letting go of trauma in the physical incarnation or even ancestrally. There's no difference between over attachment to something like that as well as to something that's, say, etherical or non-physical, because again, we're in a human body, and at this point, which I love to hear, because I love the mix of your background in that it's steeped in what we can look at in terms of recent history. I mean, Hinduism is obviously older than the Abrahamic religions. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there for anybody that delves into it in terms of a historical nature, even including some of the clickbait topics of today, such as UFOs, you know, such as, you know, lots of stuff. But where we're at today, everything seems to be moving extremely fast. And I say that, you know, coming out of 2 years of COVID related suggestive programming, or however you want to put it. And then seemed to really, something really seemed to change with this date of the February 22nd. And I'm no expert on this, but just picking up from the field and the work I do, it almost feels like there's just a whole new atmosphere of experience, or at least potential experience. Are you feeling anything like that? I know you've been deeply embedded in discipline, really, in what you're doing, but are someone like you who probably has a more consistent, let's just say consistent approach for a longer period of time? Are you feeling anything like that as we get in deeper to 2022?
Oh yeah. I mean, I get messages, and I sometimes don't know what to do with them. You know, in my meditation, things come up. I'm like, okay, or my dreams will tell me things. I don't know what this is all about. But since, I'm not even sure when, since fall at least, or late summer, I knew there was something about February. And it, sorry about that. And to me, it showed up as a thought of like I had just gotten together with a new partner, and that was like a year ago now. So it was only a few months in, and I was getting this feeling like, oh, he's going to ask me to marry him, and we're going to get married in February of 2022. And I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. So, I mean, and that did not happen, but the energy was there. So I thought, well, maybe it's not so much a personal issue as the collective energy. So I was looking into that, and yeah, I mean, it definitely felt something. And I put up a yoga nidra of divine union, higher self, soul merge activation on the 22nd of February, because that's what it felt like to me. That's what I was feeling, is that it was that divine union energies
Yes.
that was happening.
Bingo. Yes.
Yeah.
You took the
And I
words
noticed
right
a
out
lot
of
of,
my mouth. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, regardless of the personal, for any of us, and I'm just saying this from my perspective, I absolutely 100%. If I had to just make a very concise appraisal or overview, that would be what I felt. I felt like, you know what, collectively, and I can look at my own relationship with Morgan, as being a small mirror, maybe, but it just felt like that the war was over, and the divine marriage, uh, Helios Gamos, the sacred union, whatever, the birth of the golden child, whatever you want to call it, the anchoring of the Trinity, that's what it feels like. And obviously, as we all know, things that happen etherically or in the energetic field take a little time, not as much as it used to materialize, but it really feels like it's moving extremely fast. I look at the date 22 February and, just kind of went back to work, and, you're doing your thing. And then I remember doing a show with a lady, and I can't remember who it was, on the 22nd of March. And I wasn't even aware of the date. And that was coming out. Like, I was seeing it. Maybe she was talking about it. And then I think she said, it's been 30 days since the 22nd. I said, wow. So for me, it felt like I could actually see, touch, feel, what had actually occurred on the 22nd. Like, and to me, that was a very fast cycle, much faster than what we've experienced prior to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely something big. Because I mean, whenever I do these yoga nidras, I always have a date. Well, not always, but I'll usually have a date that I feel like it's the right date, but I have no idea what the meditation, what the visualization will be, what the journey will be until the day before.
Mm.
And during my meditation the day before, something new came to me, and it's still kind of hard to describe that, because I do this work, this shamanic work, the bands of power, where the shaman installs bands of all of the elements in your field, so that this acts as a protective sort of filter, that energies will, anything that's possibly dense or harmful will come into it and just turn back into the element that it most resonates with, and then feed your field, feed the earth, and it's not going to be damaging to you. But in this bubble, so I mean, it's part of the torus, and part of whatever, the aura. And something new came to me, like, we will spin these bands to expand them and contract them and play with them and adjust our field of protection. And as I was doing this, there's the gold and silver that comes up from the base of the spine up to the third eye. And these did turn into the nadis that, go through each chakra. And they came out the top of my head as a fountain, and were spinning in opposite directions. So there was a golden one that was spinning in a counterclockwise direction, and then a silver one spinning in a clockwise direction simultaneously. And I've never experienced like simultaneous opposite directions spinning in my field. And so that was really interesting. It was so powerful. Like, I could feel how the vibration was just so much higher in that moment, and so much clearer. So, and it's available. I mean, that's what I got from that, is it's anchored.
Right.
Like, it's been in the field, it's really anchored now, and it's available to everyone.
There's been a lot of talk about, obviously, since 2012, a lot of talk about and obviously these labels don't do anything justice, and they get a little bit contorted as we play with those words and apply our human conditioning to it. But like twin flame, sacred union, divine partnerships, etc. And of course, we're all learning to take things less literal and understand that it's the energy, the metaphoric aspect. But there are a lot of couples that have been popping up, especially since 2020. And I guess as a physical representation of what we both agree on, seem to hit some type of new level on the 22nd, or marked by the 22nd of February. You've had your own situation. You've already been, prior to that, immersed in some of these disciplines, which I know are contained within them, soul merging, Harioscamos, both within ourselves and, of course, with others. Have you, in your experience of the last year, in the relationship, have you had experiences of expansion that you hadn't experienced at an individual level? Have you seen anything, let's just say, that comes with that type of connection when there's two or more?
Yes. I'm trying to, there's been so much trying to pin down any examples is hard, but I don't even know how to answer that question. It's definitely there. It's definitely different than anything I've experienced before. And yeah, like telepathy things, just, and with us, it seems to balance out like in an opposite sort of way. Like on, say, like my moon days, maybe I'm just a little bit, irritable or tired. I think tired is what comes up most of the time. And he's like, I'm so energized. It's polar opposites like that. I'm like, well, good for you. Go for a walk, But as far as like being like intimate in the same space, like, yeah, it's so hard to describe, right? You like feel things that you don't feel in this physical plane. You see things. We have dreams together.
Mm-hmm.
We get messages for each other in dreams. A lot of this happens in dream work for us. Yeah, it's been really wild.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of couples, and we've had our own experiences over the years, Morgan and I, to include, star family appearing in the room translucently, other apparitions, some of the things you're talking about. But, again, these are all unique ways that people experience things. But I guess, what's coming to light is that there's something to the old saying, where two or more gather. In other words, where there's a physicality or an embodiment involved with two or more people, that opens up a whole new world. And there's I would say, a pretty strong school of thought I tend to align with, which is, it's all, the universe is accessed through the feminine energy, through the womb, through the holy darkness, whatever you want to put it, however you want to put it. That dance seems to have reached that equilibrium that we were talking about. And it just seems to be showing itself. So I was a bit curious about that. But we could always get you back on here, and we could talk about that specifically, if you are open to it. But I wanted to ask you, I don't want to run out of time. I wanted to ask you about shamanism.
Yeah.
Just a couple of, things, if you could just, go into it a little bit and share what you know about it with us. But is it related to any specific, any specific philosophy or civilization or religion or whatever, or is it something that kind of is covered in across the board?
There are many entry points, and it's found everywhere.
Mm.
It's indigenous, all over the world. Where it started, if you go back far enough, I feel that shamanism and Tantra are related. That my experience so far of it is that shamanism is an aspect of Tantra. Like, Tantra is bigger in a way, and shamanism focuses in a specific way, with more, how do I put this? Because there's a lot of dealing with nature, with the earth, with the material existence, with healing. It's just, yeah. So it depends on who you talk to, right? Like, it's hard to get a clear answer on that, but my feeling comes from, like, when yoga came down to earth from Shiva, from the gods, from wherever it came from, that shamanism and Tantra were all a part of the same thing. And it got dispersed all over the globe. And so it's in different forms depending on which culture you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Now,
it's hard at that point.
no, I understand. Yeah, no, and so much of what's happening in the code being offered by you is, in between the words. It's in the silent space. We know that. But like in a couple things, and I'm just trying to find out for my own edification and for people, uh, because we haven't really dived into this, and I actually have been wanting to dive into Hinduism in particular, maybe discuss a little bit more on Tantra on the show. So when you use the word Tantra, and as shamanism may be being a component or a complement to it, when you use the word Tantra, because and I'm not sure exactly, that's why I'm asking, a lot of people associate that with, I guess, what you would call sacred sexual intimacy as an experience itself between two people. But I have a feeling the way you're using it and the way the expanse of the energy of it is much bigger than what most of us think. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah. Tantra is technology.
Okay.
It's technology. And I mean, sexual energy is creative energy.
Right.
And so we all have it. We all, humans have it. It's in the whole universe. Everything that exists has that creative energy. It wouldn't be here. So, and Tantra is a technology for working with energy. So they're very, like, it's very disciplined. It's about extreme discipline, really, like, when you get into it. So yeah, a lot of the sex stuff is more of a modern,
Right.
somewhat distorted interpretation that can be very helpful in certain ways, but not necessarily as helpful if you want to use it for a spiritual, like, evolution of consciousness.
Right. It's not an
So
end all cure all. Yeah, it's not an end all cure all.
right, it's hard work. It's a
Yeah.
lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And where the two are intersecting so much for me is that I was having so many people coming to me as a yoga teacher who were having these really difficult times with their awakening process, like, seeing things and it being very disturbing, having, too many dreams, not able to sleep, like a lot of really negative impact types of things. And I was like, these people need something more than I know to offer them. And then I found shamanism. So it was the missing piece. And what I found in that was the energy healing that's offered through shamanism. And it's really deep shadow work. It's so much faster than yoga, because yoga is the very, like, methodical, slow, you will get there, just keep doing it, it's safe, when you do it that way. And shamanism, we just go in there and, like, find those ancestral karmas, those patterns, the generational curses, the lost soul parts, and bring them to the surface and help the client to rewrite that and work it all out and bring in the light, like illuminate the energy field, clearing the energy field and clearing any kind of tears that are in the field. And what's I wanted to tell you this story, and it shouldn't take too long. This morning, so I do a lot of dream work. That's basically where my strength is. I do a lot of work in the etheric realm, and with the shamanic healing, that's the work I do too. I don't do it in person. We do it like this over video. You can do it over the phone, and I found it's much more effective to work in the energy than to do like massage as I was doing in the past, because the density of the body, like you said, it's slow. It takes a really long time to see the effects, but energetically it's like poof, and it drops in, but then it does take time for it to express through the body. But this morning I was laying in bed and getting ready to get up, and then I thought, oh, I didn't remember any dreams, and I'd wanted to do some dream work. I thought, well, let's do some right now. And so I went and I did my mantras of like, I've taken some training with a Toltec shaman, Sergio Magana, and he taught me some dream planting techniques, and they're really good to use when you first wake up in the morning, when you're in that in-between state, because you're very receptive. I said, well, what do I need to know about this interview today? And I was taken to this vision, sitting around this big oval table, like a dining room table. And there's people seated around it, and every chair is full. And then suddenly I'm underneath the table in the dark, and around every person's legs, there's this entity. And I was like, oh, all right. And then suddenly a little cylindrical thing appears in my hand, like a soup can or something. And I start tapping on it in a rhythm. And I notice that all of the entities are looking at it, and they seem to be entranced. And then I wake up. I'm like, what? What is this message? I was like, what am I walking into, right? That's my first question. It's like, what am I being told that there's like all these entities? Do I need to protect myself? What do I need to do here? And it took a little while of me processing through that, and then just realizing like I'm protected,
Right?
I've done the work. I'm protected. My work is about energetic integrity, and I teach that because I wasn't always like that. And these entities are representative of just the human condition right now, that
Sure.
And so many people I know, like, they're coming to me and I see it. Like, I see where they have these attachments, where they have these cords to people in their lives that were toxic, or to ancestors, ancestral patterns. And sometimes, it's some other dimensional being that filters through and attaches to them. So there's a lot of that, and it's really just about that heavy energy, and how it attaches to you is through some wound within you. It creates an affinity, and that density, I perceive it as a magnet. So like attracts like.
Right.
And so until you heal that, until you find it and heal that original wound, then those will keep coming to you and feeding off of you. And so I was just reminded of so much of the importance of doing that really deep shadow work and finding those parts. Like you're talking about, the light and the dark have similar, they catalyze in similar intensity. You shine a really bright light, well, then you see the really dark spaces.
Right.
So things come to the surface. And that's what I've noticed with even my relationship. I mean, he's going through a big healing, huge progress, like amazing transformation. But it's a pattern of like, here's a bunch of light, and then it's like, oh, well, then we have to dive deeper. and some more stuff comes up. Oh, I thought we were over that. No, it's like go into that some more, go deeper, get the last bits out. So I mean, it's really beautiful in a certain way, seeing the dynamics of the light and the dark playing out and playing with each other.
Yeah.
So it's a nicer way of perceiving all of the challenges that come up as opportunities for growth, and to see something that's in our field that we hadn't seen before.
Yeah. And given your your experience, certainly since 16, if not from day one, I'm really, when you think about it, but and the coming of 2012, where just through the verbalization of the date, the Mayan calendar, and so many different things, and the voice being given to so many different perspectives and aspects and people's downloads and so on. And of course, 2 years of COVID, and it's now disappeared, and all the whatever's presented out there, it looks like the expansion of the internal focus of more and more and more people.
Yes.
How do you think we're doing as a whole? And I know that none of us can predict anything, but what's your feeling for where we're at and where we're going in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, my take on the pandemic is that it was a wake-up call.
Yeah.
It provided us with an opportunity to go inside, to be with ourselves, to see what's there, to really do inner work without feeling like forcing us away from that, like constant focusing our attention outwards and letting other things grab our attention and hold our attention and take our energy. So it was an opportunity the isolation was actually, a good thing. That's what they did in, ancient and today, even spiritual traditions. Go live in a monastery, in a cave, out in nature, away from people, just to have that opportunity to quiet the senses and quiet the mind. And I've seen some shifts, and I see that a lot more people are waking up, but also there's an impatience. There's an impatience to try and get back to being super social and connecting with people, like over connecting.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, my caution is just to like stay with it and enjoy this space, this opportunity, and not rush back into anything, because it's really important. Like, our energy has become more sensitive in this time of things shifting like that, of becoming more still. So becoming more sensitive to things, you need to reassess each and every relationship and adventure, like everything that you allow into your field, and how it's going to affect you if you want to maintain this higher vibrational state.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting the way you explain it, because it's like the collective body is really going through the same motions as so many individuals, so many things we can point to include the universal isolation, the silence, the detachment. So like when you talk about, you hear people saying we want to go back to normal, that, it makes a lot of sense, because all of us can pretty much attest to the letting go in our own personal journey, of the good and the bad, right? And
Right.
and surrendering to that, and it looks like the body collective has taken on those same things that are symptomatic of the personal awareness to expansion and so on. Do you think that we'll see anytime soon what we might call supernatural feats by the human aspect in the physical body, such as teleportation, dematerialization to materialize somewhere else. In other words, like the Merkaba itself taking on a physicality and allowing us to do those things that we might be able to do in dream state and in dimension?
Mhm. You know, I've it feels to me like I feel like we do those things, right? We do those things in meditation. We do those things in dream state. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure that like the physical that we're meant to do that.
Right.
You know, that maybe it was more of a metaphor, um, or not even a metaphor, but just a description. Like I watch Ancient Aliens a lot, and you know they've got all the paintings, you know, the old paintings of
Yeah.
the ships, you know, from the time of the Vedas, the Vedic Vimanas, and things like that, Egyptian and everything like that. So, I mean, I look at it more as the soul's journey.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, like it's so special to be in this physical body. And that's what we came here for, right? Was to experience this density, to know what it's like to have these sensations and, you know, and everything that comes with it, all the duality. So I think that it would be really challenging to try and like take that density, the qualities that and those experiences of it, and shift, you know, into a more etheric way of being. I think that we're meant to embody
Right.
that we are traveling, you know, when you learn how to do the lucid dreaming and astral traveling, we are doing it. And that's as real as this is real.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I just look at it, you know, in terms of this seems to all, you know, in terms of like um, at a layman level that everyone can understand. That seems to be that we're in a constant kind of a choice point pattern of integrating polarities. And I
Oh
love
yeah.
what you said about you and your partner, because I think that's one thing that many people misconstrue about these relationships. They think, you know, oh wow, I found him, I found her. We can just kick back now, and it's you know, chill on Netflix. But it's amazing because of the paradoxical, you know, offering that the polarities offer us, especially in these very intimate connections. And how
Mm-hmm.
do you create a 0 point field with that type of expanse between the polarities? But
Mm-hmm.
you know, having said that, if we're if we're merging and converging polarities, one of those would be the physical and the non-physical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Attributes.
Yeah.
And so I just look at it and go, well, I wonder what that's going to look like. And then, of course, at the end of the day, you always end up back at the, you know, the dog chasing its tail, going, okay, I guess it can be anything I want it to be, as long as my heart's in the right place and it's all, you know, my intentions are, you know, in the Trinity energy to serve myself, to serve you, to serve the collective equally. So I don't really think anybody knows, but I just like to explore
Right.
people's perspectives, because for me, it's more, I like to say it's more colors to paint, you know, more colors on our palette to paint from.
Yeah. It's more of a feeling to me. It's more of an awareness, you know, of like living multidimensionally is I can't say I've got it down yet, but definitely better than a few years ago.
Yeah.
At first, when it was like, you know, I had this dream about someone, but was it a dream? But we talked, wait, and then I see them in person and I expect them to know what we talked about. And they look at me like, who are you? And I'm like,
Yeah.
who are you? Like, which version of you am I talking to? And it was just crazy. But yeah, learning how to let those flow and be in all those places at one time is really interesting. And I mean, I feel like that's the direction of what it's going to look like, is more people just being more aware and open to these other possibilities that are beyond what this 3D world that we've grown up in has shown us is possible.
Good explanation. Because, I mean, obviously, you know, there's a lot can be said for any of us, at least for a period of time, no matter how long or short it is, to really be involved in the singularity of I'm just conscious or focused on the human condition, the human experience, the limitations, you might say, but anything beyond that is multidimensionality, right? And I'm with you. It comes in so many different forms. I remember I was watching, trying to watch. I have a hard time. I think a lot of us have a hard time watching anything on you know, be it on YouTube or Netflix or whatever it was. I think it was something I was trying to watch just to keep my mind off everything, just to have a moment of being human, right? And you know, and I it was interesting because it was about maybe 15 minutes I watched it, but in that 15 minutes, watching this, you know, seemingly, you know, just unrelated kind of whatever it was, a movie or whatever it was, there was probably, you know, a dozen things came in that registered in my multidimensionality through the presentation of what I was watching. So there's no mistakes. Like, oh, I got that. Oh, I see that. Oh, I got that. But it wasn't the human. It was the multi aspects anchoring in, you know, an epiphany or an awareness. And I was like, wow, this is a part of multidimensionality that I didn't think about. You know, I'm thinking, oh, I'm over in this parallel life, or I'm, you know, over here on this planet, or in this, you know, past scenario or future scenario. But it was actually information and code coming in a short period of time that I was able to go, this isn't just the singular, you know, mindset or the singular pair of eyes that I had, you know, 6 months, 6 years ago. I don't know what the time frame is, but yeah, it's like something could be said to, I guess, where we used to have this basic math, and now, you know, maybe the 12 streams have opened up, let's just say, but each one of those 12 streams immediately has 12 streams that it gives you access to, right?
Right. So and then each one of us has that. And so it's just multiplied and multiplied.
Yeah. Amazing. We had a schedule mix up, so I've got to cut out. I'd love to just keep going with you. But we can get together again in 2022, you know, with you and your partner, or whatever you're comfortable with, if you're open to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's a real pleasure to get to know you, and I appreciate you know, what you're doing, because as you know, and as we all are coming to know, that work that we do on individual levels affecting us all and opening energetic pathways for us all. So thank you. Big props to you for that. And I look forward to collaborating with you and sharing space with you again.
Yes, thank you. And thank you. I appreciate what you do too, like allowing this platform for us to talk and to get to know each other, like all of us, and receive this information. Yeah. Where we wouldn't normally be able to meet each other. Yay, internet.
Yeah. Yay, the you, me, we, and it.
And our multi-dimensional selves.
There you go. You take care. Peace out.
You too.
We'll be back shortly. Thank you so much.